still ask. So from last time, just a brief recap. We had started creating the code for the rocket ship, but then we didn't finish. I introduced you to events, what it means to tell the sprite when to act, and that's where the events come in. This is when you introduce the when flag clicked. Do you want your sprite to show? You have to put that in your code. Which direction do you want your sprite to face? I think, yeah, I told you guys about this. And then where do you want your sprite to be located? You know, when you start the game. So that's where we have the go-to blocks, which is under the motion blocks. So I remember I stopped on the control statements because I thought that was too much to take in for first lecture. So yeah, today we shall continue. We shall finish up with the code for the rocket ship, and then the bullets, and then the rocks, hopefully. Yeah. So this code, I don't want it, so I can just drag it and like drop it there. That's a way of like deleting the code. So yeah, so as you can see, so far this code can't do anything. Okay, it can, because if I put this here and I say when flag clicked, yeah, that's the rocket ship will go to that position which we dictated in the code. But then we can't control, like the player has no control over the game yet, and yet we want, you know, the player to be able to play the game. So that brings us to the to these other blocks, the control blocks. Yeah. So we want to be able to control these sprites, in that we want bullets to come out of this rocket ship throughout the game. And we want to be able to move this rocket ship up and down such that it can be able to strategically hit the rocks and position itself, or even dodge the rocks throughout the game. But how shall we do that? So we're going to have this if block. Going to have two if blocks here, and so that the forever block acts in a way that throughout the game, whatever code you're executing through in the forever block is going to keep acting. It's like a loop, an endless loop, yeah? Because I think I showed you last time how, for example, if I want to turn the spaceship through 15 degrees throughout the game, I will just put the rotate under motion blocks, turn 15 degrees forever, you see? So that happens forever. It can't stop. So a forever block is something, it will, once it's executed, the code is going to run forever in an endless loop. But we don't need the spaceship to rotate throughout the game, so I've put that code aside. So I want the game to act in a way that if I press my up arrow key, this is going to move up, and if I press my down arrow key, it's going to move down, yeah? So I'm going to look for that. It's not under motion, but under looks. So it's here under sensing. So if the up arrow key is pressed, I want this to move upwards, yeah? And so how will that be? Because I want it to change. You remember I told you about the axes, the X and Y axis. Up on, like, if, okay, let me just recap these. I remember I told you that in the middle, I'm like, imagine in the middle of a screen is sort of like a line, a vertical line and a horizontal line. So the more you move upwards, that's positive. And then as you move downwards, that's negative. And then if you move to your right, that's positive. And if you move to your left, that's negative in the x direction. So for now, I want it to change in the y axis. So I'm going to look for it's under motion. Ooh. Okay, give me a second. Change, oh yeah, change y is here. So I want to change y by 10. It's 10 because it's positive. Up arrow, like if I press the up arrow, I want it to move upwards. And then if I press the down arrow, if the down arrow key is pressed, okay, so I have, sorry, I'm kind of confused where to find these blocks. You'll have to forgive me. But yeah, here it is. So for the down arrow, I want it to move downwards. So I'm going to say change y by negative 10. See? So on my keyboard, I'm pressing the up arrow to change y by 10. And then the down arrow to change y by negative 10. Now, I want you to know that the forever block is very important because let's try to remove it and you see what will happen. So if I just put this here, like without the forever block, I will, I don't even know, it doesn't work because it will, the code will only be executed once and it will stop. But so like you need it, like you need to tell the computer that I want this to happen throughout the game, not just when I press it once. So that's why we need the forever block, because throughout the game, we need this code to be executed, not only once. Yeah. So that's it about the rocket ship. This is the code. I hope you understand it. For the events, it's like, when do we want this to happen? When the flag is clicked. And then we want this to show. I'll tell you more about this later, why it's relevant. I know right now you may be like, oh, why are we putting the show block yet? I mean, either way the rocket ship will be showing. But what if we want the rocket ship not to show at the end of the game? So we shall introduce a new block called hide. But then, like, if you don't put the show block at the beginning of the game, the rocket ship will still be invisible, you know? Okay, I know you may not make sense out of that right now, but probably as we continue and I introduce a hide block, you'll see how relevant it will be. But for now, just know we need this show block. And then the pointing direction is because, yeah, like, we want our rocket ship to face the rocks, so that's why we had to put in the pointing direction block. And then the go to, because we want our rocket ship in a specific position when we start the game. Because I mean, it could be here, it could be there, anywhere, but we want it in this position. So the code will bring it to that position when the game starts. So the go to block is used when you want your rocket ship to be in a specific position when you start your game. Yeah. And then I think I've thoroughly explained this. I do not know if you have questions, you can ask about it. But you really need a forever block, especially if you need your commands to run throughout the game. Yeah. So as for now, we have finished the code for the rocket ship. So we're going to go to the one for the bullets. Yeah. Okay, so I want us to set up first. I'll drop this here. So for the button code, first of all, we need the event. When will this the bullet start acting? So I guess we want it to start moving when we click the flag. So I'm going to say when flag clicked. But then, okay, this is it. I don't know if this size, if you guys are okay with this size. I mean, we could change the size to 100. This is the size that it was before. For those who aren't here, we had to reduce this size to like 30. Yeah, such that it could fit in the game, and we can be able to blast it. So when the flag clicked, we want to be sure that this bullet is a specific size. So I'm going to say set size 2. I'm going to bring the set size 2 block here. I will say 30. Yeah, 30. Or if you want it bigger or smaller, you can set 10. But it's so tiny, so I guess we shall go with 30. But it's up to you. Yeah, such that when you click the flag, it will immediately set the size to 30%. And then afterwards, we could also introduce the hide block. We don't want this bullet to be shown like immediately when we click the flag. But okay, we could first leave the hide block for now. I want to bring it out like later, the whole show and hide thing. So for now, when we click the flag, it's going to set the size to 30%. But then this is only one, and we need multiple. We need multiple of them coming to hit. I mean, the game would be so boring if we only had one bullet coming and then shoot it and then, okay, you win. That would be so boring. So we need like multiple bullets. Yeah, we need a challenge for the player. So we need to create clones. I think you guys know what clones are. Yeah. So shall look here. It's not under motion. Okay. Try again. I hope you guys can still hear me. I'm seeing my internet is acting up because it's not saving. Okay, I think you can. Okay. So I'm looking for the create clone of myself block. I do not crop where these things are located, but create clone. Yeah, here it is. So now I want it to be that I'm going to like keep producing all these multiple. Sorry, didn't mean to do that. I want this spaceship to act like it's producing multiple bullets. Yeah. Okay, I don't know what's happening. Try again. I know I keep shifting to the rocket ship. Okay. And by the way, just a reminder, you're supposed to execute the code for each sprite differently. That's why I don't know why it keeps going to the rocket ship, but I'm under here, bullet. So I'm executing the code. Okay, I'm trying to create the code for the bullet. So as I said, I want to create a clone of myself. Like I want this bullet to keep creating a clone of itself. So when do I want that to happen? When I press the space key. You could get any other key that you want. Could get maybe A, but honestly, I think space key is like more, or you can do even any key if you want. But for me, I'll go with space key. Yeah. So when I press the space key, I want it to create a clone of itself. And then I'll say, when I start as a clone, when I start as a clone with block. Okay. So when I start as a clone, so I'm going to give the directions for each clone. I don't know if you guys are following through, but probably you've done clones with the other tutors, so this will not be hard. I hope so. So I want to create the code for the clone now, the clone of the bullets. So I guess just organize my code. I'll put this here and this here. So when I start as a clone, I want to go to a specific direction. So I'm going to the go-to blocks. So I'll bring a go-to block. So I want it to appear like it's coming from, oh yeah, so I want you to see that when I click start as a clone, multiple clones were created, just that I hadn't given them like a code. So that's why you see when I tap here, there were multiple clones. When I click the space key, you see, clones were created, but in the same place. So I need to execute a code, you see, when clones were created, but then we need to give directions for these clones. What are they going to do? Yeah. So that's why I have to do when I start as a clone. Otherwise, the clones will be created multiple, every time I press the space key, and they won't have any effect, you see. Yeah, I hope you guys can see that. Like multiple clones will be created in this same spot, but we need them to come from like this space rocket ship. So I want these clones to go to this position. So I can come here, like I want it to come like as if, I want them to look like as if they're coming from around here. So I'm going to say, go to, you note this X, yeah? Sorry. I want you to note this position here. It's negative 146. So you could just come and say negative 146. And then the Y position, I want them to come from like the Y position of the rocket ship. So I'm going to say, it's not under motion blocks. Okay. So the rocket ship is in its position is -3. There's also a way you can make it such that you can just put Y position of the rocket ship, but for now, let me just get this position of the rocket ship directly from here, which is -3. So I'll come back to the bullet code and put -3. Yeah. So after that, I want these clones to show because initially I will hide the different clones because as you can see, when we create the clones, they're going to keep, being formed. But I want like I want like each of them to come out separately and not like multiple of them. So I'm going to like hide them. And then, but then when they come at this position, that's when I want them to show, like after they've been created here. Okay. So now there's another thing here. So once these clones are created, they're either going to touch this rock such that they disappear, or they're going to touch the edge such that they disappear. So I'm going to bring the repeat until block. I hope you guys are really getting it. So this is under the control blocks. I'm going to put the repeat until, and then I'm going to go to sensing. I want it to stop repeat until it's touching either the rocks or it has reached the edge. If you guys have a question, you could ask. Or if we're at par. Okay, I guess we're at par. Okay.
What's the code for the rocket ship?
Oh, the code for the rocket ship. We had finished that, but maybe I'll go back and like recap it after. You can give me a second. Okay, so this is the code for the rocket ship. This. We just have to make it act in a way that it's going to go up and down. That's all. Yeah, so this was the code for the rocket ship. You want me to go through it again?
Yes, please. I didn't see that part.
Okay, let me just go through it again for like a few minutes or something. So we introduced the when flag clicked block in that. Okay, it's okay. Let me go through it. So we introduced the when flag clicked block in that this one will show us when should the rocket ship start acting. That's why we need an events block, because if we don't introduce an events block, basically this sprite will not know when to act, but we want it to act when we click the flag, when we say start. There are other events. There is the when the sprite is clicked, when the space key, or like when any other key is pressed, all these keys, you could pick any. But I think the one that's convenient or the one that's good is the when flag clicked block. So yeah, that's why we introduced the when flag click block. And then we want it to show at the beginning of the game because, okay, I haven't showed you how at the end of the game, we're going to do something that when the game ends, we're going to hide this sprite. So we need to tell the game that when the game starts, we want to show it, because if we leave that code of hide, the rocket ship will not show, it will be invisible, So we need to make it clear that we need this sprite to show at the beginning of the game. And then we need it to point in the direction of 180, because this thing could point in any other direction. We need it to point in a direction that will, you see the direction, it won't be able to hit the rock. So we need it to point in a direction where it will be able to hit the rocks well. That's the 180. And then we want it to go to a specific position, because we want it to go to a position where it can be able to hit the rocks strategically. That's why we say this point, yeah, because we can put it here, it could be here, but then we want to tell it that at the beginning of the game, please come here, yeah, which is negative 212, and then the y is negative 8. You don't have to, guess these numbers here. You could just try to position your sprite anywhere, and you see this change. So maybe you bring it like, oh, I want my sprite to be here. So you just see these numbers and just write them here, X is negative 209 and Y is 124. But then we said ours, we want it to be at negative 212 and negative 8. Yeah. Okay, it could also be here. You could change it to any position you want. Probably you want your sprite to also be here. You'll get negative 212 and negative 142. You could click here, this can be changed. So you could click there and say anything you want, but mine is at negative 8, so I'll go with that. And then we say that we want these commands to keep acting throughout the game, so we have to put them under the forever block. Yeah, so that's why we introduce a forever block. So that's it about the rocket ship. Now for the bullets, we want them to to be multiple of them coming out of this rocket ship, yeah? So we have one bullet here. Someone could say maybe we could introduce other sprites for bullets and like another bullet sprite here, another bullet sprite here. But that would be so much work because we'd have to create code for like each of the bullet sprites, you know. So why don't we just create a clone, you know? You just create a clone and give the different clones directions, yeah? Because there is the when I start as a clone block, which helps us to execute code for the clones separately. So that's where we are right now. So when we click the flag, we want this bullet to have a specific size, yeah? To have a specific size, because I mean, it could be bigger. That's why we had to dictate it to be 30%. That's enough for us to hit. Yeah, so that's why I set it to 30%. And then I have to hide the original because I want to show the clones, yeah? I want to only show the clones, like the multiple clones. So the original one is not important in this case, so we have to hide that one. But then like when I start as a clone, they are the ones that I will show, yeah? And we have to also go to a specific place, like where do you want your clone to be? Because the clone could be here, the clone of the bullet could be here or here, but we want it to appear like it's coming from the rocket ship. That's why I had to like dictate where I want it to be. Yeah. So that's it, I guess. So we can continue. Hope everyone is now at par. Because I think I was introducing like multiple concepts at once, but then so there's another thing called the operators. So we said we want this clones to be created until we want this game to continue or this clone to move 10 steps until it hits the rock, yeah? That's when it will disappear. Or until it reaches the edge. Otherwise it will keep moving 10 steps until so we want to restrict it. That's why we introduced the repeat until block. This is under control blocks. So repeat until touching. We don't want mouse pointers, so we're going to say touching rocks. But then not only rocks, we also want it to repeat until it's touching the rocks or the edge. That's why we have to bring in this or. So we shall say, oh yeah, and another thing, there is something called duplicating. You could just duplicate this, and then you put this here, touching rocks. This is touching rocks or touching rocks, so it will be touching edge or touching rocks. We're going to move 10 steps.
Shush, man!
So when I start as a clone, I want this clone to move 10 steps until it's either touching the edge or touching the rocks. Yeah. Yeah. Are you seeing? Yeah. So we can also change this. We can say, according to the speed you want, maybe 50 steps. Are you seeing that was so fast? It moved 50 steps. Or like 20 steps. This will vary the size of the bullets. Or you could say 1 step. Okay, that's so damn slow and that's not like challenging enough. So I'll make it 10. So yeah, 10 steps. So now when this happens, I wanted to say, okay, something else. I wanted to say game over when this rock probably hits the the rocket ship. But then I think that one we shall do it under rocks. So we can for now go to rocks. Try it. So for now I'm going to go to the code for the rocks. So now this is the same thing. When the flag is clicked, I'll have to set the size for the rocks. This is under looks, set size to 100%. I guess that's fair enough. Or if you want your rocks to be bigger, you could say 150. Yeah, but that's too big, scary. So I'll just do probably 80%. You know, we could just keep trying, yeah? Trial and error. I guess 70. Okay, no, I think 80. Okay, it doesn't matter. It's really up to you. So when the flag clicked, I'll set the size to 80%, and then I'll click show. A show block, which is under looks. Show. And then I'm going to also create clones for the rocks because I want multiple rocks to come. I don't just want to hit one rock and then that's it. So I'm going to create a clone of myself. That is myself meaning the rock, yeah? Because under bullet, it will say create a clone of myself here, which is myself under bullet. And then here rocks, it's also going to be create a clone of myself under rocks. So you create a clone of that thing under that after tapping that sprite under its code. So yeah. I'll come to create clone of myself. And then I'll hide. So I want this to happen like also multiple times, just like this side, how I was creating a clone of myself, like until I touch the edge or the rocks. So here I want to dictate, this is under control, how many times the rock is going to create a clone of itself. So I'm going to say repeat probably 10 times, keep repeating like 10 times, create a clone of myself. Okay, so the clones are being created, just that they are in one position. So, because when I click here, you see, they are clones, but being created in one same place. Each time I click this. If you want to see the direct effect of your code, you could just double click or click that block under which it is. And trust me, every time you click that block, the code is executed, even if you may not see the effect. So if you don't see the immediate effect of what you expect, that means that your code probably has a problem. So as you can see, here we aren't seeing any effect, but if you tap the same position, multiple clones were being created. Yeah. So you can see multiple clones were being created, not knowing what to do, just remaining in that same place. So we need to direct these clones what to do. When I start as a clone, so what? So I'm going to go under control. When I start as a clone, I want to go to a specific position. So I'm going to go to motion, go to block. Probably, let me see, I want it to go there or there. You decide. I mean, you can always check by checking these X and Y positions. You don't have to cram. Yeah, I have to stress that. So I'll say go to X131. But then I want the Y position to be randomized. Yeah. because I want the y position to be randomized. So I will pick random. So okay, I want the y position to be randomized because I want the rock to either come from here or here or here or anywhere. Like it has to be random, not like a specific position that I expect the rock to come from. So yeah, I will go to pick random. Pick random. Yeah, it's under operators. So I'll say pick random, maybe let's see. So we are randomizing the y position. We want it to be from anywhere. So probably I would say this y position is 26 and this y position is, okay, I don't know, it's not changing on the, okay. Supposed to be changing somewhere here. Okay, I think my internet is acting up. But I will say probably negative 170. It places here to positive 170. Yeah. So the position of the rock will be randomized from up like along the y-axis on any position. Yeah. So now I want to also vary the speed of the rocks because I don't want the rock to come with the same position. Like I want to create that random effect, that random okay, like that random that random effect whereby we don't know how fast the rock is coming. So I'll need a variable. I hope you guys have done variables. If you haven't, I can say a variable is sort of like where you store something. Let's call it like something like a container where you're going to keep something. Just take it as where you store something. So that's why we have something called variables. We're going to meet these a lot, even in other languages. So I'm going to create a new variable. And I'm going to call this variable speed. But I don't want it to show. So I'm going to do this because I don't want it to show, like as in I don't want my speed to be just like showing in the game. So I unclick. If you want it to show, you could do that. It's just like how you introduce the score variable, which you shall come to also. That one I think, okay, not I think, but obviously the player will want to know what they are scoring. So we shall have to check this, check the box when it's a score variable. So I'm going to set my speed to also random. So I will say set speed operators, pick random. Probably they do those random numbers, so it will randomize the speed. And then I'm going to repeat the creating of the clones. Okay, no, I'm going to, okay, no, let me first change the position of the rocks. I'm going to go under control. And then I'm going to use these operators here. Give me a second. Motion, control. Okay, so I want to explain this code all at once. Negative 170 to positive 170. Okay, are you guys still there?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. So I want to randomize the exposition. Sorry, the Y position, sorry. Yeah. Just give me a second.
Where is teacher at? Indian. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
Where is teacher?
Left.
She's coming.
I think it's just a network issue.
Network.
Hello. Sorry, I lost my connection. But I guess I'll continue from there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so we're still randomizing the position of the rocks. Let me share my screen once again. Okay, but do you guys have any questions so far? Or we can finish up. Okay, I guess I'll take the questions after. Uh, so we're creating the code for the rocks. Okay, so we want to introduce the score variable. I'm going to introduce the score variable because I want to to say that if the button touches the rock, I want the score to change by 1, because if the button successfully touches the rock, that means that we have scored. That means we have like aimed right. So I'm going to introduce the score variable. I think I'll like explain everything at once, because I think I'm introducing like a variety of things at the same time. But you can as well ask if you want clarification, or if you can't understand what's happening. So I'm going to make a variable called score. This is where I'll store my records of what I have. I think you guys are well conversant with the score variable with the other games that you've been making. So I'm going to say that if I touch this button, I'm going to go under control. I'm going to say that if this rock, if this clone is touching the button, then let's kind of first put this code here. I'll explain it later. This here, okay. This is under sensing. So if it's touching the, if it's touching the button, so I'm going to look for button here, which is bullet. Sorry, I named it bullet. So if it's touching the bullet, then we shall change the score by 1 or by 5, depending on what you want. So I'm going to go to variables, and I'm going to change my score by 1. So when I start as a clone, I'm going to, if like when my clone touches the bullet, sorry, when my clone touches the bullet, I'm going to change the score by 1. Remember, this clone is for the rocks. We're working under the rocks. So yeah, this is why it's here. But then I want this game to end if the rock touches the what? If the rock touches the spaceship, like if it successfully hits the spaceship. So I'm going to bring the repeat until block. So repeat until is here. So I'm going to say, I want this to be repeated until this clone touches until this clone of the rocks touches the rocket ship or the spaceship, whatever. I hope you guys can first understand that. Yeah, so sensing. So I want this code to be run until it touches this, until this rock touches the rocket ship. Okay, the spaceship. Yeah. That's why I put this code under the repeat until. So otherwise, after this repeat until block is run, I want the game to end. I hope you guys can see like the flow. When I start as a clone, I want to go to this I want to go to like randomize the position of these rocks, and I want to also randomize the speed. That's why I said that set the speed to pick random 1 to 10, and then go to this position, go to X 1 3 1, but then I'll just keep randomizing the what? I'll just keep randomizing the Y position. That's why the pick random is for only the Y, whereby it will be randomized from negative 170 to positive 170. Yeah. So that's why I brought this here. And then I want it such that if the rock is like, if it touches the bullets, I'll change the score by 1. Otherwise, if that doesn't happen, if the bullet touches the spaceship, then the game will be done. That's why I put the repeat until block. Yeah, so I hope that's clear. So until it's touching the rocket ship. Otherwise, I want the game to be done. So how will that be? I'm going to say broadcast game over. So I'm going to bring in something called broadcast. Broadcast, yeah, it's here. So by default, it says message 1, but for me, I want to put the message game over. Game over. So this is something new that I've introduced, broadcast. Broadcast works in a way that once a message is sent, it's going to be sent to all the sprites, yeah? That's why it says broadcast. Imagine shouting across to all of them, like, yeah, guys, the game is over, you get something like that. So that's why it's a broadcast. So it's going to broadcast game over. That is until it's touching the rocket ship. Otherwise, if it's not, this code in here will run. If this touches the bullet, then we shall change the score by 1. Yeah, I hope that's clear. So now I also want in that when I receive the broadcast, I'll be able to stop creating the clones. So I'll say when I receive game over, I'll stop all these, like they'll stop acting. Otherwise, if you don't, all these clones will keep running. So when I receive game over, all the things will stop. That's what everything just disappears. And if you want, you could even say, when I receive game over, hide these rocks. So show looks hide. So you could bring a hide block to like not show when I receive game over. That's why at the beginning of the game we have to bring in the show block, because if we leave it on hide, even when the game starts, it will just hide, like it won't show anything. That's why we have to stress the fact that we want our sprite to show at the beginning of the game. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. I do not know. I will continue with this game tomorrow, if I don't know, maybe Friday. And then yeah. But for now I'll stop here.
Bye, teacher.
Okay, bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye. See you. Thank you.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Shema. Sheesh. Let's go.
Bye-bye.
Oh, sayonara.
Bye.
Oh. You got that. This thing is hard. Water,
Bye.
that's small. That's small to you. This is big. Why do you say